Superstar, për me superstar është Gjamelja, një pikon me më të bukur në botë, jeni në Klan Kosova FM, 95.2, 90.8 dhe nga ky moment do të shkojna me intervistën e paralajmëruar me zonjën e nderuar një akademike e cila nuk lyvyn shumë edhe introduction, sepse kemi pasur edhe më herët, Anna Di Lellio. Anna, good morning, Rome. Thank you for having time to talk again. We talked in the beginning of the war, now 21 days. First of all, are you surprised that the war is so long? And what next? $1 million question, but hey, you always are right. Pra, kemi folë fillim luftës, a je befasuar që lufta po zgjat kaq shumë dhe çka do të ndodh, çka parashikon të ndodh, e di që është një pyetje $1 million, por Ana ja çellon bagit si shpesh.
Good morning to all of you. Thank you for inviting me. Yeah, well, I'm surprised, like everybody else, about the slowness and the lack of coordination of the Russian army. Was supposed to be so strong, but then you remember the National Guard of Iraq was supposed to be very strong. All these armies.
The
army in Afghanistan.
VJ, Yugoslavian army was supposed to.
VJ was supposed to be so strong. But then also what everyone is surprised is from they are surprised of the amazing resistance of the Ukrainian people and by how much the state is holding. I mean, look, we were kind of conditioned to think by Russian propaganda that Ukraine was a failed state. A word that I propose to just eliminate from our vocabulary because it doesn't exist. Perhaps Libya is a failed state, Somalia, but besides those two, there are no failed state in the world. And the mayors are staying at their place. The president is staying at his place with his family, and they are targeted for assassination. Nobody's moving. The society is organized. The state, the army, facing huge difficulties. And this is not a failed state. It's a very highly functioning state.
Yes.
So that's the surprise.
A perfect state, actually. Ana, po thotë, po jam e befasuar që po zgjat lufta, jam e befasuar si Ukraina është një shtet tepër i organizuar, nuk është i dështuar siç thot propaganda ruse, dhe gjithë jemi befasuar sepse Rusia barëm letër është ushtria më e fortë e dyta në botë, por remember, kujtoni që ajo ka ndodhur edhe ushtrive tjera të mëdha, thonin për gardën për ushtrinë e Irakut, që është më e fortë e pesta, e katërta në botë, por pastaj u zhaget për një javë ditë, e pam edhe në të kaluarën ushtria jugoslave në Sloveni u palua edhe në Kroaci me ato dy operacionet, kështu që ajo megjithatë duhet më japoni super përshëndetje rezistencës, organizimit të shtetit të Ukrainës, të cilët po tregojnë që janë tepër të burra dhe kryetari po rrin brenda në kryeqytet, nuk po ik me familjen e tij, edhe pse janë nishi dhe dyshin listë për të ekzekutuar. Klitschko, majori i Kievit, është aty duke qëndruar, prandaj jam e befasuar. I have to add you to something to hear about Ukraine. When they got visas and we didn't, I was so pissed off and thinking that Ukraine is a failed state and Moldavia and all this. But now I have to say it publicly, sorry to Ukraine. I didn't say it publicly like this, but on my mind I was saying to the friends, we were surprised how come they give 44 million Ukrainians Schengen visa and for us 1 million. But now I see that they more than deserve it. Me in my comments in tweets, I say Kiev is a new Brussels.
Yes, that's funny. Yes.
You
didn't get visas because the war in Kosovo didn't have the wide consensus that this war has. I mean, Russia is completely isolated. Only 5 states voted in support of Russia. One of them is Russia, so let's say 4. In the vote at the General Assembly of the UN, they condemned the war. Kosovo was much more difficult, and the situation was very, very different. And there were many states that actually did not support the NATO war. in Kosovo.
Yeah.
So that's why
Yeah,
we didn't get the visa.
Yeah, I got it. Po për kaq kemi marr vizat, sepse kur ma marr Ukraina vizat unë kështu jo në publikisht, po me qytetarë thësha so qysh aty neve jo, po ja ana ka mirë thotë sepse ne nuk kemi një përkrahje, vetëm 4 shtete me Rusin, kurse te ne është situata pak më ndryshe. Anna, while the fighting is going on, there are negotiations led by Erdogan. What do you expect from these negotiations? This morning I heard a security advisor of Erdogan who said that it's very slowly, but we have to do it sooner because the damage can be much more bigger, wider, and maybe family members of the delegations can die and will be killed, and then that's a totally different story. Pra negociatat po vazhdojnë në udhëheqjen e Erdoganit dhe pritet një takim javën ardhshme ndërmjet pra pritet po planifikohet ndërmjet Zelenskit dhe Putinit. How do you see those the process of negotiation, if we can say it like that, is continuing?
Look, one thing this case has taught us is that we cannot really make easy predictions. So I really don't know what's going to happen. But in my opinion, not much is going to happen in the short term because no side in this conflict has any interest. I mean, yes, Ukraine has obviously interest in this war to end soon. But what everyone is asking Ukraine, what do you want in order to reach a mediation? What are you asking for? Can you give neutrality? Can you give Donetsk and Luhansk? Can you give Crimea? Nobody is asking Russia, what do they want? What do you want? Do you really want to just protect your citizens in the eastern part of Ukraine? Do you want them to be independent part of Russia? Do you want neutrality of Ukraine? The neutrality has been offered by Zelensky. We hear nothing from the Russian side. We don't know what they want. We can only speculate. Do they want to just want to control the whole Ukraine? Perhaps not. But do they want to get to a ceasefire only when Ukraine is reduced to rubble and is punished for standing up to Putin? I think the second option is the second scenario is the most possible, and this is the most terrible. But that's why I don't think the mediation or the negotiation will reach any conclusion anytime soon. First, Putin has to show that he's strong and that he wants to punish Ukraine.
Pra ona nuk pret shumë nga këto, ato do të vazhdojnë, sepse kur kush s'peden çka po don Putini, dhe se ai do për fat ke skenari i dytë që do ta rrafshit këtë Ukrainën është më shumë i mundshëm. But in the same time, Anna, there's no consensus in the Russian society. We saw yesterday prima donna of Bolshoi Theater left. We saw the Maria, the journalist, the editor, news editor, who she's facing 15 years in jail. We see Arnold Schwarzenegger pleading to them to not feel the pain of having his father a Nazi for the rest of his life. Very emotional speech. Can we expect something from inside, not like from a people, because people without power is nothing, but like some generals, some politicians, maybe not of the first Premier League, but the second row, the officers, like the one who quit, let's say, Milosevic before 2000s, as we learned later?
I would say one thing. First, you cannot talk about Russia as if it was one thing. I always, my friend Nina Khrushcheva always says Russia is 11 time zone. It's a huge place with lots of different people. Okay, you said the people who are living at the centers that we see are mostly middle classes or upper middle classes, so people who have education, but they also can watch other news, and they have a lot to lose in this situation. Okay, you say, well, maybe the people will not rise against Putin, but maybe the military. Here again, I'm not an expert on Russia, but I can quote an expert, Leon Aron, whom I interviewed maybe last week.
Yeah, I read the piece, amazing piece.
He's an expert. He said any insurrection by the militaries in Russia ends up very badly and never succeed. The first one was the Decembrists in 1815 or some days around there, against the Tsar. They were all executed. It just doesn't quite work that way. So I'm really not sure that will be a solution. Again, I don't know, but the experts don't think that that's going to happen, or if it happens, it will not succeed.
Yeah, or maybe there will be a stem to confirm the rule. We hope so, maybe. Anna, you said also in this piece, or in a talking interview with Aaron, he said actually that he neither does the oligarchs have the power to do it, or they can do it because Putin just destroys them. So what is your positive prediction? How this is going to end? My prediction is that this is going to, it depends from the Ukrainians, how long they're going to carry on, the victims, and then maybe Putin will see, okay, let's make some compromise, that he can sell it as a victory to his nation.
Yes, I think that's what it really depends on the Ukraine, how much suffering they can take and how much strength they will have. I think you're right. I mean, I agree with you that Putin at one point has to stop. And, he has lots of casualties among the army, but also lots of desertions. That happened also in Yugoslavia, with the Yugoslav army and the war in Kosovo. We don't never talk about that. But if you look at the minutes of the ICTY, you see, in the evidence, there is a lot of talk of the desertions by VJs. When soldiers know that they are fighting a war that is not just, and they have no mission, really real mission to pursue, and they're just dying for nothing, they do stop fighting. And this is happening in the Russian army too. So I do think at one point Putin has to stop. The longest the war lasts, the worse it is for the Ukraine, but also the worse it is for him. And he has to find a way out. The only positive thing was what Lavrov said 2 or 3 days ago, that they might get, they might reach an agreement on the neutrality of the Ukraine, which they already had before the war. But anyway, that's but Lavrov says that. Mm-hmm. It's an opening.
That's a hope, yeah. Okay, Anna, do të thonë, duhet të tregojmë që sa më shumë pra që zgjat lufta, Putini do të jetë më i dobët sepse ushtria s'po lufton. Ne nuk folim shumë, por edhe gjatë luftës në Kosovë shumë ushtarë të vigjej apo vojska Jugosllavie, ushtria e Jugosllavisë, shkurtesa kanë dezertuar, kanë ikur, dhe ushtarët kur e shohin që nuk është e tymbja, dhe shohin që po desin Badjava, po dezertojnë, dhe kjo është shpresa e fundit që Putini më në fund do ta do ta kupton që e ka humb këto, apo edhe të arritin marrëveshje për ta shitur si fitore. Okay, Anna, how do you see the Economist today has a piece, edhe për këtë duna me falendëru Gazin, Gazmendin, kryeredaktorin, I cili me na ilën është prej orës 12 në Infoklani. The shift, the Germany, and this is the last question, sorry to keep you, Germany has changed 360-degree or 180-degree the policy of neutrality, of not having a heavy army, blah, blah, blah. Now it's doing, how important is that? And why Kamala Harris, who have the Indian roots, does not talk to the Prime Minister and come to the senses of India? Because they are buying oil from him.
I mean, for Kamala Harris, I don't think it works like that, that if you have Indian ancestry, you can go talk to even though you are vice president of the United States, you can talk to the prime minister or president of India.
You go to your cousins. I know, but
but about this, it's a very interesting thing. The ICJ, the International Court of Justice, which is an organ of the UN, on March 16, so 2 days ago, has ordered Russia to immediately stop the war. and this is to immediately stop hostilities. And this is a binding decision. They have to, they should respect this decision. And this decision taken by the ICJ, not the ICC, don't confuse it, the ICJ has been voted 13 pro votes by judges against 2. The 2 that voted against were the Chinese and the Russians, but the Indian judge voted in favor of asking Russia to stop the war. So this is important. And then I forgot your first question. What was the first question?
No, about the India fact, Germany, that the both military.
Yeah, this is important. We know, but Germany has been moving a little bit in that direction for a while. I don't know if you remember, but in 1999, when there was the intervention, NATO intervention against Serbia for Kosovo, the foreign minister of Germany voted in favor, was in favor of the intervention. Yeah. And the minister at the time was a member of the Green Party, Joschka Fischer. And now the foreign minister of Germany that is who's presiding over this, let's say, not rearmament, but, increasing budget, military budget and a more, let's say, militarized vision of Germany is also a member of the Green Party. So it's something that's been happening for a while, and perhaps it means also that Germany has overcome this complex that they cannot be in war because of what happened in World War II. Yeah, exactly. It's a good thing. They're part of NATO, so I don't think that's a problem.
And one more, the fate of Nazanin. She was released from Iran after 6 years. English paid back the money that they owed to Islamic Republic of Iran. I have desire to believe that Iranians decided now to do this as a sign that they are not entirely agreeing with what is happening, even though they are the main partners. And also we know that Iranians, such Syrians, Aleppo, 2 days ago was 11 years of starting the war. They see this every day, but I guess can we read this like that, or just it's a pure coincidence? Një pyetje përfundit të gazetarja analistja iraniane angleze u lirua Nazanin para 2 ditë, keni pa në BBC, pas 6 viteve në burg. A është kjo një shet që Irani nuk po vajtohet me Rusin, apo është një koincidencë thjesht?
Look, I think, what we have seen so far, I'm really not an expert on Middle East and all these big scenarios, but I think...
And in what you are expert? I'm not expert in this, I'm not expert in this. You are expert in everything, man. Sorry.
Well, you need to have a little humility. There are so many people...
I know, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, expert. Yeah.
They're wrong.
Yeah, big time. Zyrtar të lartë.
But I think, what we see for sure, what we're seeing in the smaller countries, with the exception of, but even China, but with the exception of great power, smaller countries, even those countries that are close to Russia and they're against the United States, enemies of the United States, are really, staying on the fences. They're not really sticking up their neck, whatever they do, they try to balance their acts. Only North Korea, if you look at what's happening, only North Korea is squarely, and Eritrea, they're really squarely in the camp of Russia. Other countries are pursuing their own objective, trying to balance their acts. And it's a very delicate situation. And they stay friendly with Russia, but look at even Turkey. France, Erdogan, friend of the Russians, but he sells the drones to Ukraine. He's providing drones to Ukraine to fight Russia. So it's complicated.
Erdogan is big like. I made a public announcement saying sorry, and I said for inside democracy we will talk later. Anna, thank you very much.